Welcome, class. This is going to be our video for 1-7, multiplying decimals. Now, when we multiply decimals, it's basically just like multiplying any other numbers. Okay, the multiplication of the number part is going to be the same as what we've done with whole numbers. And I'm okay with you using 3 different algorithms. I don't care which one you use. A lot of people use cherry bomb method, and that's fine. We're going to use that in this video. My personal favorite, especially in 6th grade, is lattice method. You probably haven't heard that a lot from a lot of adults, but I'm a big fan of lattice method. So if you like using lattice method, that's terrific. And if you want to use partial products, that's okay too. Although I discourage that a little bit because I've seen too many errors. But regardless of which way you multiply the digits together, the important part of multiplying decimals when you have decimal points in your numbers is to really pay attention to the proper place value. Okay, and I'm going to show you a couple different methods to get the right answer. So let's get right into it. Let's take a look at a problem and let's just look at a regular multiplication first. So let's just look at a normal integer multiplication of 18 and 4. Okay? And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and multiply those two numbers together. Okay? And 8 times 4 is 32, so I write down the 2 and I carry the 3. And then 4 times 1 is 4 with the carried 3 gives us 7. So we get 72. Alright, now that's, and again, I did that with cherry bomb. You could have done that with lattice just as easily. You could have also done it with partial products. Okay, regardless though, what if I take a very similar decimal multiplication, and now let's look at 0.018 times 0.4. Alright, now if you look at that quickly, it's the same numbers that we just had in the last multiplication. The only difference here is that we have decimals this time. Alright, now the way that your parents will probably help you if you ask them for help on decimal multiplication, and this is the way we all learned back when we were your age in school, is what you would do is you go through the problem. Okay, you take the 72 that you get when you multiply the numbers, and then you look at the numbers that you are multiplying, and you count the total number of place values, the total number of digits that come after the decimal point in each of the numbers. So 0.018, as you can see from the 3 little blue lines, had 3 decimal places, and 0.4 had another decimal place, for a total of 4 decimal places. We then come down here like this, and we take our original 72, which is what we get from a normal multiplication, and we move the decimal from the end of 72, which is where the decimal would be in a normal number, and we move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left. Okay, and then we go back and we fill in any empty spaces with 0. So if I take 18 times 4, I get 72. But if I take 0.018 times 0.4, or in other words, 18 thousandths times 4 tenths, then the answer is going to be 0.0072, or 72 ten thousandths. Okay, so that's the traditional approach on how to do decimal division. So use whatever multiplication algorithm you want, count the number of decimal places in your numbers, and then at the end of the problem you have to move the decimal that many places to the left. Okay? And if that's a little confusing to you, go ahead and stop right now and rewind a couple of minutes in this video and walk through this exercise one more time. Maybe seeing it a second time will be helpful. Okay? Well, now we're going to go ahead and move on. Alright, so let's take a look at another problem. This time let's look at 3.2 times 4.5. Alright, well we can go ahead and we can do cherry bomb again. So we've got 32 and 45. We're just going to ignore the decimal places completely and multiply the numbers. Okay? And so when I first multiply by 5, 5 times 2 is 10. I carried a 1. 5 times 3 was 15, plus the 1 gave me 16. Alright, so that's 32 times 5 is 160. Continuing on, now let's multiply by the 4. Okay, we're going to put a cherry bomb in. Oop, I went a little fast. Sorry about that. Okay, we're going to put a cherry bomb right here where the X is. Okay, you can put a 0 there. Some people put an X there. Some people actually draw in a little cherry. Whatever you like to do. And now 4 times 2 is 8. No carry this time, and 4 times 3 is 12, and so we copy that in. I'll write right over that. And now we add those up, and we get 0. We get 14, carry the 1. I'm going to stick it right in there. Okay, 1, 1, and 2 is 4, and then 1. I get 1440. Okay? Now doing the same thing we just did a second ago, okay, I can count the total number of decimal places in the original numbers. Each of them had one decimal place for a total of 2. And I come down here in blue and I move the decimal in 1,440. I move that decimal 2 places to the left. So the final result is 14.40. Or I could drop that end 0 at the end of a decimal and I could just say 14.4. Either one is correct. All right. Let's look at another way to do this exact same problem. Okay, so I told you I'm a big fan of lattice multiplication. So let's go ahead and draw a lattice. Okay, and so it's 2. Both of the numbers are 2 digits. So we're going to go ahead and draw a 2 by 2 lattice, and I'm going to put up here at the top. I'm going to put 3.2. Okay, and then I'm going to put 4.5. Okay, it doesn't matter which number goes on the top and which number goes on the right side. Just as long as one number goes on the top and one number goes on the right. I usually go in order. And notice this time I am going to keep the decimals there. All right. Now, in lattice multiplication, to fill in any of the boxes, let's go to yellow for a second. If I want to fill in this box right here, oops, that wasn't yellow. I take the top number and the right number, and 3 times 4 gives me 12. The top number is for the tens digit, the bottom is for the ones. To get this square, I'm going to multiply 2 times 4, and I'm going to get 8. Okay, let's keep going with this with the colors here. Okay, to get this square, I got 2 above and 5 to the right, so I'm going to get 10. And finally, for the last one, let's go back to white. 3 times 5 is 15. Now, before I go any further, let's also look at the decimal points. Okay, the decimal point right here, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a vertical line through the decimal at the top and a horizontal line through the decimal at the right. And you notice that those 2 lines come together right there in the middle. Well, think about how we add up lattice, right? We go down diagonally from top right to bottom left. Well, that's exactly what happens to the decimal. So where these 2 lines cross, the decimals come together, and then they follow together down, and we're going to drop the decimal right there. We don't have to think about it anymore. Now let's do the regular lattice addition for the last step. So let's go ahead and add as we go down. We get a 0 here. 8, 1, and 5. Give me a total of 14, so let's carry 1 up here. 1, 0, 2, and 1 give me 4, and finally the last 1 gives me 1. And so again, I get 14.40 as I read about around the corner here, which is exactly what we got from doing it the cherry bomb traditional method. Okay. Now, what's the advantage of doing the lattice method? Well, the lattice method, you could still go ahead and count the decimal places. You could say there's 1 decimal place there and there's 1 decimal place there. You could ignore the decimal places and just do the multiplication and get 1,440 just like we did in the first one, and then move the decimal back 2 to the left. Or you can use this trick of drawing the lines, the decimal points, bringing the decimal points together and then taking them down diagonally and dropping the decimal off. So the lattice method gives us a second way to make sure the decimal gets in the right place. In addition, I'm a big fan, like I said, of lattice multiplication, because if you do make a mistake, you can go back and check your work and you can see where it happened. All right? All right. I'm going to skip ahead in the video a little bit because I think what it's going to do is draw in over everything I just wrote. So let's go ahead and fast forward to the next slide. So finally, there is a third way that you can make sure that the decimal gets in the right place when you're doing a multiplication problem, and that is using estimates. Okay, and we've talked about that in class. So let's go back to that example we just had, 3.2 times 4.5. You could use partial products, you could use the lattice like we just did without worrying about the decimal points, and you could do cherry bomb, and you could find that the product of 32 and 45 is 1440. Now, if I want to get the decimal in the right spot using estimates, well, let's just do a quick rounding of 3.2 and 4.5. So 3.2 is pretty close to 3, and 4.5, if I round to the nearest whole number, 5 or above, give it a shove. So that's going to be 3 times 5, which comes out to be 15. All right. Now, where do I put the decimal in 1440 to make it close to 15? Well, the only place I can put a decimal in this and have it be relatively close to 15 is if I put the decimal right there between the 2 4s. And sure enough, that is the correct placement as we just saw. Okay, so estimates, the lattice trick, and the counting the decimal tricks all work for getting the decimal in the right place. Okay, and there's no rule that says you have to do only one of them. In fact, I would strongly recommend that you do lattice multiplication, and that will give you all three methods to get the decimal in the right spot. Now we're going to practice this more in class tomorrow. So the last slide is just that. So go ahead, and a couple things to remember. Remember the picture that was in the very beginning of the video. Okay, if you can't remember back, I think it was my smiling face welcoming you. I'm using the line paper here because that's the next step. The next step is we're going to sit down in class and you're going to practice this skill. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing everybody in class tomorrow. And remember, you can take notes in your notebook from this video so that it'll make your daily quiz a little bit easier tomorrow. Okay, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care. Good night.